headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
Good morning, Julia.
Well, we were speculating, weren't we, about whether the Queen was going to be mobile enough to get in. She was able to walk, thank goodness, but only a short walk there, accompanied by Prince Andrew. We've always known he's her favourite son. We've always known that she's kept lots of contact with him. But I mean, some of the looks, the expressions on the faces of other royals when he walked in with her, it's very clear, I think, that certainly Prince Charles and Prince William were very unhappy with the Queen's decision on that front.
I think basically they knew that if he is seen too prominent a role, it would deflect from what the whole service was about. And if you look at the headlines, and unfortunately it has, which is desperately sad for the Queen, because the whole point of yesterday was to remember her late husband and celebrate that. Instead, we've got headlines, as you've just alluded to, in the Mirror and other places, clearly Andrew being forward and front of the whole thing in terms of helping his mother in and out of the church, which from a straight family point of view, yes, you think that's perfectly normal. But clearly, the way it is perceived, and he doesn't help himself with his look, because unfortunately, he creates this slightly arrogant bearing, and that he's almost saying, quietly, well, look at me again. He
does just have a very, everything about his manner. And I know lots of people who've come across him during his public life and said that absolutely that completely matches what happens in private. And he's always been an incredibly arrogant and entitled man. Let me read some of the messages we've got coming in, actually, because we've asked, do you think it was the right decision or not, and give you reasons. And Pacey has said, at the end of the day, it was his dad, and it was his dad's memorial service, so he had every right to be there. I have to say, I've always said, of course, he had every right to be there. I think it was outrageous. Anyone would suggest he shouldn't. He says that the sad thing is we're talking about him and Prince Harry, who of course wasn't there, when we should have been talking and focusing on his father. Julie says it was her decision, the Queen, it's her son, and he's there for his late father, helping his elderly mother to attend the service. None of our business. LJ says he's still the Queen's son. It would have been her decision. He was there at his father's memorial service to support his family. Of course, he should have been there. David, though, says, as a mother, understandable. As a head of state, at best, it was inappropriate. And that's the thing. She was there in both roles, as she always is. And at the end of the day, we are talking about a man who, he's not been convicted of any crime. He has, however, paid £12 million to a woman who he claims he's never met, who says that he sexually assaulted and raped her on 3 occasions when she was 17. Now, I'm sorry, he may have denied that, but we're all going, why did you pay her £12 million then?
That is the point. He was not guilty technically on any account, but if you're going to pay that sort of money, what's that about? Is the reaction. And unfortunately, that's why he is persona non grata. Now, clearly, yesterday was a mixture of private and state occasion, but clearly overriding that was a family. You saw the pictures of Princess Beatrice. That was what it was about, remembering her grandfather, who was obviously a very important part, and other members of the family. And Prince Andrew, as well, is a member of that family. But clearly, there were complications for the Queen in getting in and out, and she needed somebody to help her. And perhaps, she thought the obvious one was Prince Andrew, but maybe just quite not thinking of the optics of the whole thing.
I mean, clearly he should have been there, but I would have thought it was far more appropriate if Prince Charles or Edward had walked her, and that Andrew was there, and he was there in the front row, as he's got every right to be as the son of Prince Philip, for whom the memorial was being held, but not actually, in the centre ground.
Well, there was talk that actually I think the Dean of Westminster might have helped her to a seat, but Andrew, if I'm saying, in the insiders in inverted commas, said he overrode that decision and he wanted to help her.
I wonder if there was a deal. I wonder if, because we know that Prince Andrew, from what his lawyers and his representatives were putting out, he wanted to fight this case in New York brought by Virginia Giuffre. But everyone who is sentient and has ever seen that, and Memley Maitler's Newsnight interview, knows that would have been an absolute disaster for the Prince. Innocent or guilty, he would have come across badly. The jury were not going to like him. He was probably going to lose that case. So I've got my best guess on all of this is that the lawyers and the advisors in Buckingham Palace overruled and said you have to pay off. Queenie's helped pay for some of that, as we know, and then we're in a situation where he's done a deal. I'll do that in return for which this case isn't hanging over the Jubilee year, but but you have to show your support publicly. I wonder if it's something as cynical as that.
It could be. But I think ultimately the test will be the Platinum Jubilee weekend.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, something like the Derby Day is considered to be part private celebration for the family to mark her 70 years in a situation that the family, particularly the Queen, would enjoy, a day at the races. Will he be seen at that? I think that's the next test. This was an obvious one that he was going to be there. And you might say it is inappropriate that he was travelling with her, but she did need somebody in the car to help her.
Absolutely.
It might often have been a lady in waiting.
Yeah.
So,
Rupert, it is interesting, actually how many people are getting in touch, and actually they're very angry with the media for focusing on it. Sorry, everyone, but there's no question at all that was what a lot of people were talking about yesterday. Thank you very much, Rupert Bell, Talk Radio's royal correspondent. The time is now 7:30. Up next, we are going to talk about Partygate and those fines. We're going to get the latest sport, of course, the memorial service for Shane Warne being held in Australia today. We're also going to be talking about Jackie Weaver. Remember Jackie Weaver? Well, it turns out she did not have the authority. That's up.